welcome to the MBS show reviews. Today we are going to be reviewing an episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I'm James Corck, and with me are Norman Sanzo.
Hello.
And Sketchy Sounds.
Hello.
And we have today episode 6 of season 4, episode 71 overall. It's Power Ponies, written by Meghan McCarthy, Charlotte Fullerton, and Betsy McGowen. Storyboarded by Mike West and Steve Garcia. So, in this episode, we are going to have it's a superhero episode. It's a comic book episode, apparently. And it's been hyped ever since in San Diego Comic-Con last year. We had, animation, an animatic showing that there's going to be an episode of superheroes in season 4. So, what do you guys think of this episode?
I love it. On my list of like and dislike, there's only one dislike.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was quite a lot of fun. There were one or two small things that detracted from it, but overall I thought it was a fairly solid episode.
Personally, I think it's going to be the tone overall during this entire review. I'm not going to count myself on liking more or less than you guys, but I thought the episode was great. It didn't need anything. It gave everything. And personally, I just have one complaint about it. Okay, what the episode is about, what's going on. All right, so you guys better watch the episode before you listen to the rest of this review, because it's going to be spoilerific. And by the way, what are you listening to us if you haven't watched the episode yet? So, in today's episode, we have Spike, who is actually reading a comic. We have seen the guy read books before, but never comics until now. And he's really hyped because this is a new comic, and he wants to know what's going to happen at the end. It's a superhero comic starring the Power Ponies, defeating the evil maniac. And that's the name of the character, by the way. It's the maniac, like a mane. That's crazy. But as the main six and Spike go to the castle of the two sisters in the end of the Everfree Forest, they are restoring it, cleaning it up, putting it up to snatch, and Spike is, like usual, not needed because they're doing a fine job. So Twilight sends Spike to finish the rest of his comic book, and just when he's reaching the climax, the comic book ends. And sadly, there is no to be continued or next week coming up on the next number. No, just a tiny blurb of text that it's so tiny that he needs a magnifying glass to read it. So as he reads it, he activates some sort of spell in the book, and the comic book sucks him and the rest of the main characters inside its universe. And when they wake up, they realize they've been transported into the city of Metropolis. They have turned into the Power Ponies, and the only way they have to get out is to defeat the evil maniac and her minions.
I have to say, I did rather like the way that was done. It reminded me an awful lot of Jumanji.
I can totally see where you're coming with the at the beginning of the movie when the character of Robin Williams gets sucked into the game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just the whole premise in general, because the idea of that comic book is to indulge in a fantasy, and much as with Jumanji, the thing on Jumanji was a game for those who seek to find a way to leave their world behind. So and it honestly was a flight of fancy, the entire thing was, which, paralleling a movie like that was a really good idea.
The way that they all get sucked into the comic book reminded me a lot of Army of Darkness. For those of you who haven't watched it, there is one scene where the character of Ashley Williams, he's going to 3 books, and he has to pick the right one and say the magic words. And he picks the wrong one first, and he gets sucked into the book. Like, his limbs get stretched, and like his face gets also deformed and everything. It's like, that's a very Army of Darkness vibe to it. That's really cool. But the interesting concept of this is that at one point when they're in the comic book world, of course, the main 6, they get captured by the maniac, and they get put into a cage. Thank you. They get put into a cage, and the guy who has no superpowers the guy that nobody pays attention to has to go and save the day. There is actually a comic that is pretty much like that. I think it's a superhero called Normal Man. That no, really, he is the only person in the planet without superpowers. And that actually makes him a superhero because he doesn't have any powers. So I think there was a storyline where every single superhero gets captured and the only one who can save the world is this guy.
That's interesting. What comic was it? DC or Marvel?
No, I think it was Marvel.
Oh.
I think it was Marvel.
Okay. Well, anyway, continue with the synopsis.
Yeah, so like I was saying, like what follows after that premise is 3 very well planned action sequences. In that the first one they set up the powers and how the characters are getting used to them. In the second one they are just kicking ass, but they get captured. And in the last one they are all kicking ass, and at the end they defeat the maniac by deflecting one of her evil rays of main destruction. I think that was a joke. Evil rays of main destruction to her face, and they all return home safely right before the comic disappears into existence. That's pretty much the premise of the episode. It's very simple, very straightforward, very much like a Saturday morning cartoon. And I think that is the right mindset to go with in this episode. It's very much like a one-parter X-Men storyline or one part of the Spider-Man storyline. That it has the same vibes, it has the same atmosphere.
That is true. So, James, what do you like and dislike about this episode?
Well, if we're going to stay here all day, then I will tell you everything that I liked. I will just go straight forward to what I didn't like, but it's more like something disappointing than something that I didn't like. They completely wasted the character of Twilight Sparkle. It was like the mask Metahorn?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Matterhorn.
Matterhorn. Yeah, there you go. The mask Matterhorn, it's supposed to be all-powerful magic that can do everything, and the only thing she does is use ice magic.
No, in a few scenes she did use heat.
No, she didn't.
No, she did. She did.
Are you sure of that?
Yes, during the shampoo factory, she shoot out red beams. That's to be represented as fire, but in a kids show like this, they won't burn them alive, so it's represented as heat.
Still, personally, I think it's kind of a waste because first time she tries to use ice magic, she just summons a few snowflakes. Then she summons a snowball, and finally she freezes the entire floor of the factory. And I'm like, okay, fine. Can you do something else that is not freezing people? Like, can you use like lightning or I don't know, move the why don't you do hair bending? That would be fun. I'm pretty sure you can do something about that. Or like levitation. I'm pretty sure you have levitation too. You are the mask Matterhorn. You have all sorts of powers. So, but that's like the only complaint I have. It's a nitpick when there is so much good in this episode. But yeah, I mean that is my only complaint. Everything else, perfect. I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay. Really? Everything? Oh.
Yeah, seriously. The music, the production design, the different personalities of the characters and the way the costumes look like, all the powers, they are really creative, really fun, and very fitting for each one of the characters. The villain is awesome. Like, I will say that the Maniac is my new favorite My Little Pony villain because of how much she loves it. There are 2 kinds of villains in media right now, like in fiction. There is the villain that has good reasons and they explain him well, and there is the villain that is having a lot of fun. Sometimes they combine both and they have a really good villain, like Loki in the Avengers. But then you have terrible villains that they don't explain at all or that they have no motivations. The Maniac is having so much fun with what she's doing. It's like even when she's defeated, she's enjoying herself. I'm like, this woman is a riot. I love the Maniac. She's so much fun.
True. So, James, who's next?
Okay, so what about you guys? What did you think about the episode? What were your likes and dislikes?
I would have to say what I liked about the episode was the whole idea of, the Ponies' alter egos as superheroes. Again, the design of that, the execution of it. It did feel very Saturday morning superhero cartoony, which is great. So they hit the nail on the head with that. My only real major complaint about this episode, though, was that it took a while to get going. Because, I mean, this is the thing. It has a very, very slow start. Because you start out and you've got, Spike reading his comic. And, side note on that, actually, I loved how they showed Twilight basically being the very tolerant big sister stroke mom with Spike when he was, when he came and started explaining his comic to her. And she just sat there with a knowing smile on her face listening to him. That was very sweet. But to me, it felt almost like too much time was spent with the setup of how Spike ends up getting sucked into the comic, and so do the ponies. It almost felt like too much time was spent on that. I mean, they could have gotten to it a whole lot sooner, and thus could have given us more time with the Power Ponies. And I think the episode overall suffers a bit because of that, because to me it felt like not enough time almost was spent on the Power Pony part of it, because there wasn't as much explanation of, one, the Maniac's motivations, and two, two, showing how the Power Ponies all work together and so forth. To me, it didn't feel like there was quite enough of that. And I feel like they could have taken more time on that if they had not spent so much time on all that setup beforehand. Now, I will happily say, though, that I'm perfectly happy to see what happens further on down the line, because for all I know, what they were up to in the old castle of the Pony Sisters at the start of the episode, that may have some significant relevance down the line. And if it does, then so be it. But if it doesn't, then it really does feel like they didn't have to show us as much as they did of establishing the fact that there was nothing for Spike to do. They could have taken far less time to do that, and thus gotten on to what was the real meat and bones of the episode a lot sooner. And I say, I think that is my main big gripe with it, is just it didn't feel like there was enough balance of time given to parts of the episode. It felt like they spent too much time on the window dressing, as it were, and not enough time on the actual body of the episode itself. Having said all that, though, that's honestly about my only gripe with it, because the rest of the episode was fantastic. I really did love seeing the personalities of the main six that we're used to transplanted into the bodies of superheroes. And I did think it was a really clever touch, the way they were not instantly great at the alter egos they've been transplanted into. I thought it was quite amusing how they all initially failed miserably at using their superpowers, so they had to take their time and get used to them and become accommodated with them, and finally learn what they were supposed, how they were supposed to use them. So that was really good. That was really well done, and I loved the overall development of it. Maniac had a very Doc Ock feel to her, with her hair going every which way, and the way that she used it as transport despite having a perfectly functional set of legs. I thought that was very nice as well. I was like, that's very, very Doc Ock there, of what they're doing there. And also, I have to say, I burst out in a fit of giggles when I saw that her super weapon was literally a giant hairdryer. I lost it at that point. I was like, are you serious?
Well, it is perfect, and it makes sense. If you want to mess your hair, nothing better than a blow dryer to do that.
And to be honest, it did make perfect sense in the whole, one, in that context, and two, in the context of this is, a parody of, classic Saturday morning superhero cartoons. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be outrageous and dangerous. And it was, so it worked, so...
I want to make a comment regarding your complaint about the motivations of the villain. Like at the very beginning of the episode, Spike explains that the Maniac had an accident in her shampoo factory, which gave her main superpowers and turned her completely insane. And here is where I quote Alfred from the Dark Knight movie, where he says, "Some men aren't looking for anything." yeah, some men just want to watch the world burn. I mean, her motivations is that she is completely and absolutely bad poop insane. She doesn't need to have motivations.
This is true. She did give off a very Jokerish vibe, what with her constant laughing and the fact, of course, she has green hair. Very Joker-like.
She
was even dressed in purple, wasn't she?
Yeah, well, she was purple.
So,
her body color was purple, and I think her suit was also very obnoxiously colored purple.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she clearly had a Joker vibe to her.
Yeah, there was a definite Joker vibe there. It's like clearly insane, green hair, purple outfit, constantly laughing, very Jokerish, but in the best possible way. She was very animated series Batman Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had a lot of fun.
You know, she was clearly enjoying herself the whole time. She was very obviously unhinged, but there was still a definite danger about her, which you could tell by the way she conducted herself.
True.
And what about you, Norman?
Well, as for me, I like to list things down because I don't do shotgun well. So anyway, the things that I like, they're doing something with the old castle, the Two Sister Castle. I mean, it's been 3 seasons now since that castle has not been done, and in season 4 they're doing something with it, and well, that's cool. Maybe that's going to be Twilight's new swag or place, or what's that? Casa? I got no idea. And here's something that confused me. This is going to be one of those new sections I bring up every week, or in coming episodes. Applejack hanging up photos of paintings of the Apple family farm and apples. I mean, if it was general painting, I didn't mind. Like, the apple was okay, stretching it, but the farm, like, you're clearly
do you have anything against apples?
No, I mean, it's clearly that they're promoting the Apple family farm. I mean, I know they're in economic ruins, but still.
Well,
it's advertising, man.
I know.
If what you're saying is true, and this is going to become Twilight's new crib, I think it would be a good idea to have pictures that remind her of her friends. And what's better to have a picture of Sweet Apple Acres? If anything, one of the cornerstones of economics and commerce in Ponyville.
Yes, it's just strange to me. Like, if let's just say the restoration is for a museum or something like that. Yeah, Apple Family Farm sponsored. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving on to the next part is
Norman. One small thing: the place is called Sweet Apple Acres, not Apple Family Farm.
Yes, true. But anyway, on to the next bit. Magic can be cast verbally. This is something new that we have not seen before, and it does.
Yes, we have.
Really? Verbally?
Yeah. And you remember at the end of the...
Did you completely forget the season 3 finale, dude?
Okay, yes. Give me a second.
Magical mystery cure.
Okay, guys, give me a second. By a non-unicorn.
Oh, okay.
All right.
What?
Yeah, because the one who says the magic spell is a Spike, is not Twilight. Probably the spell is contained within the comic book.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we should talk about that, because even I am scratching my head about the fact that there is some magic comic book store in Canterlot that sells comic books that you can, get sucked into, and if you don't defeat the villain, you are going to get trapped in there forever, or even die.
I don't think so. It's that way. I mean, it's a form of entertainment for magical beings, or at least ponies in this sense. Or it could be, how do I put this? It's like a D&D session with friends, and everybody is ready and everybody knows what they're doing. Unfortunately for the main 6, they don't know, and that's why they suck at the beginning.
It's a more hardcore version of 3D. That's what it is.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. It may sound like I'm coming across as I don't like it, but I love the idea of a store selling magic comic books that you can get sucked in and get superpowers and defeat evil villains. Oh my god, that's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is plausible in that setting because magical beings, magical creatures, can enchant certain items, and certain items, once enchanted or once fulfilled, return back to the store or something like that. I got no idea how it's done, but still, it's an interesting concept. What I really am interested in is the fact that non-magical creatures or non-unicorn creatures can cast spells or activate spells via reading text. This opens up a whole new avenue for storytelling in the future.
Well, Spike does carry some sort of magic on himself. He's been used ever since the first episode of the series as a magical fax machine. So I think he does carry some sort of magic within him.
True. What I meant to say was magical aura or magical properties that could manipulate or do stuff or summon stuff. Because if you remember what Lauren Faust said in her interview or her sting, was all of the ponies have magical powers, but not the same. It's not the same as how unicorns use it. Like unicorns, it's visible, yet earth ponies are magical to the earth, and Pegasi are magical to the weather, and so on. But
yeah, exactly.
we're digressing.
No, well, no, but that is true. That is true. That every character has their own sort of magic, in one way or another. And we are now discovering that Spike does indeed have a bit of magic on his own.
Oh, it could be the book that is enchanted. But anyway, moving on.
What?
I mean, if we're going to discuss it, like, we're not going to end this. But anyway, moving on. The next thing on my list is all of the comic book reference. My goodness, Metropolis?
Yes.
It's like, oh God, could you... So awesome. And all of the characters, they're based on a superhero that we know. Pinkie Pie is Flash. Rarity is the Green Lantern.
Flash. Hulk is... Well, Fluttershy is the Hulk.
Yeah, Rarity is the Green Lantern.
Yeah, as Norman just said. And Rainbow Dash was Storm.
Storm or
Well,
Thor?
actually, you know, Big Jim Miller, the co-director of season 4, he said on his Twitter that Rainbow Dash was based on Thor because she is not using she's using that lightning necklace that she has around her neck the same way Thor uses his hammer. So he cleared that it was Thor.
Nevertheless, you know, what her power ended up being was controlling specifically the weather, not specifically thunder and lightning, but the weather. So it was definitely Storm's power, but invoked in a way similar to Thor.
And also, I do enjoy Applejack. Like, we can clearly tell that it is Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman is a strong character.
You know what I thought was hilarious about that? I got to mention this, right? What I thought was hilarious was the whole thing of not only was Applejack basically a wholesale copy of Wonder Woman, but that she was even a wholesale copy of Wonder Woman right down to the whole thing of getting tied up with her own lasso. That happens to Wonder Woman all the damn time.
Oh my.
She was definitely a Wonder Woman XP, although I did get a lot of Batman vibes from her, from the hooverangs that she was using.
No, that could have been her, if Wonder Woman's case, that could be her tiara that she throws as a boomerang thing. But you know, since Applejack doesn't have a tiara, those hooverangs would be the second best thing.
I like to think Batman because my parents are dead.
Oh, God. That's awful.
That's James for you. Anyway, moving on is, after the whole movie, comic book reference, the villain. I enjoy Maniac. Her voice actress is Ellen Kennedy, and my goodness, did she play it so well. At first, I thought, could this be Tabitha St. Germain?
Because everybody thought that. Yeah, everybody thought that.
It wasn't. Like, oh my God, the range for her, like, it was so insane. Like, you guys...
She banqueted on the scenery.
Yeah,
she honestly did.
It's like, if somehow she became a real villain in the normal pony universe, I would have not minded it at all. It was just so insane.
I want her to come.
And honestly, almost every other line of hers could have been, "Did somebody order a large ham?"
And the pans. time for the main event.
Oh god, I do enjoy that, James.
I did enjoy that. I can look at the puns and enjoy them, but one part of myself is just face palming, a la Captain Picard, going, "Oh god, you're actually laughing at that?"
She was basically a delicious blend of the Joker and Doc Ock, as I say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the puns and the craziness, but yet also the prehensile hair.
You were talking about the scenery, Sketchy, and how she's chewing on it. I think we didn't make mention on the production design for this episode, because I don't know if you have watched the high definition version of it, but I did take time to watch it in HD, full 1080p with color correction, and I noticed that as soon as they step into the comic book world, the design of the backgrounds changes completely. I think I know it's kind of petty to mention this, but every single line, every single color palette, it has like a texture, and it looks like a comic book page on the screen, because it feels like paper, and every single element of the background, it has this thick black outline to it. From the elements that move to the elements that are static, and it's like that is such a clever way to draw the viewer into the world. It's like when in the movie Tron they are taken into the system, and there are like all of these neon glowing lines around them, and it's like electronic and weird. This is the same thing, but comic book like. And I was like, this is so cool. That is pretty awesome. Really good looking episode. Definitely one of the most distinctive and unique MLP episodes ever produced.
True. And the next thing I like on my list is Spike's confidence being boosted because all of her friends believe in him. And that is what I enjoy about this episode. And well, after his confidence boost, he technically saved the whole group. But before he saved them, what was her name? What was the villain name? Maniac, right? Maniac monologue. That is a classic villain trope, if I ever seen one. And she did it she did it awesomely. That's what I have to say. It was so awesome of her. And like, you don't mind listening to it. And after the whole fight scene and all, Fluttershy, one of my favorite characters, get pissed. And
oh god, yes. We should talk about that. We have to talk about that, Norman.
I know, but let me just run it through, and we can talk it in the discussion section. But the way she got pissed, oh my god, was it so much fun? Like, everybody was saying, "Aren't you a little angry?" Like, and I'm just babbling and moving on to the next.
I completely agree with you, but we really need to talk about that, because there's people, I have seen people bringing up that, oh, it's just a stupid ladybug, or it's a stupid firefly. Like, why are people so, why doesn't she get upset when her friends are getting captured or when her friends are getting hurt? Now, I am going to defend this writing decision because I think it's brilliant. This is why Fluttershy doesn't get angry and she doesn't get upset when her friends are getting attacked, because she knows that her friends can fend for herself. And I am going to defend this writing decision because I think this is brilliant. Fluttershy doesn't get upset or angry when her friends are getting attacked because she knows they can fend for themselves. When Rainbow Dash gets attacked, she can fend for herself. When Twilight gets attacked, when Applejack gets attacked, they can all fight for themselves. They don't need help. So why will Fluttershy get angry at that? But when the ones that cannot defend themselves, the ones that are weak and they are helpless, when those get hurt, you are in deep trouble. She's going to mess you up, and she's going to mess you up fast, and you are not going to enjoy it. And it is such a good moment. It's like, it finally settles the character of Fluttershy as that character that she doesn't get angry unless she really needs to. And if you are evil enough and you are bad enough that even she can lose her patience with you, that says a lot. That says more about you than it says about her.
Well,
It means that you are completely evil and you should be put down.
and I totally agree with you. And here's the thing: when her friends got injured or got beaten up or something like that, she was concerned. She knows for the fact that her friends have superpowers and they like you said, they can defend themselves, and she is concerned for their safety. That is true. She did say that, but one thing people forget is Fluttershy's main job or main thing in Ponyville is to take care of animals, even insects. So when a creature gets hurt, she takes care of them. Now, in this scenario, somebody hurt the creature or hurt the firefly. And you know what? She legitimately got really, really angry at the fact that a supervillain whacks an innocent firefly. And, well, being the vet that she is, got pissed really hard. And her whole transformation scene was awesome.
If you noticed in her transformation scene, even her skin color changes. Like, you know how when Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk, he goes from normal skin color to green. When Fluttershy turns into that hulking mass of muscles, she goes from somewhat pale yellow to very, very like dark, bright, incredibly saturated yellow. That is really, it's like yellow with the desaturation to the max.
I think what threw me off was her eyes. Her eyes were red.
Yes, her eyes were red. They were like, of course, red for rage.
Yeah, true. I mean, that threw me off because the color yellow, when you have something big and red in front of you, you're not going to notice the little stuff.
Also, I love the way she was beating the crap out of the giant hair dryer. Yeah. And then she has like a piece of the hair dryer in her mouth. She spits it out and puts her hooves together like, oh, I'm sorry.
That's what I'm going to mention because the next thing on my list is Raging Fluttershy animation. The whole thing, like, if you think about it, right? DHX, from what I can tell, don't do much action scene to that degree. Like, they don't do action hero stuff. Maybe I'm talking out of my butt here, but to me, that's the first time I saw DHX do something like that. And it was awesome.
To be honest, the way the animation moved and the way everything felt, it felt like a very action-packed episode of Ed, and Eddie crossover with MLP. This episode, more than any other episode of the show, shows where the HX comes from and where they have been working on in the past.
Like, if you look at the beginning, their animation is okay, nice. But
that's because it's the normal world. They don't really need to go bananas with the animation.
I'm not talking about that too. I mean, look at the last week's episode, Flight to the Finish. Miss Harshwini's facial expression. In Season 1, you won't see that. In Season 2, you will see that. In Season 4, my goodness, they're really playing with expressions now.
They are going really over the top with the expressions as well. But they are... okay. They are definitely taking a lot more risks in Season 4. This season so far feels like Season 2 Part 2. If you remember clearly, in Season 2 they took a lot of risks. They expanded upon the universe and they expanded upon the characters. Season 3 felt like they were closing loose. They were tying loose ends, giving everything a closure. Many people felt, even me included, that the finale of Season 3 was the finale of the series, and it might as well be in the finale of the series. Like, if the series had ended right there, I would have been happy. I genuinely would have been satisfied because they closured Twilight Sparkle's journey through 3 seasons. Now, Season 4, now they have established everything. They are taking the rules and they are playing with them again. They are making that into real. They are giving the castle a lot more presence and expanding upon it. They are making this alternate comic book universe where people can jump into thanks to this magic comic book store that is in Canterlot. I'm never going to let that go. I love it. There is a comic book, enchanted comic book store in Canterlot, and you can get sucked into them. It's brilliant. Yeah. Or they are expanding upon the relationship between Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash, and treating that one taboo subject that we thought we were never going to touch upon.
Oh yeah, true.
So they're getting rid of the elements of harmony. They are establishing a new storyline that it's going to go over the entire season. Although we haven't heard any of it for like 4 episodes already, but it's like season 4 is taking a lot of risks,
yeah,
and to me, so far, all of them have paid off.
True, indeed.
Yeah, this kind of series is the kind of series that you want to experiment with. It's very sandbox, open-ended, where you want to try stuff, new stuff with, and the people at the HX are clearly enjoying themselves.
Oh, yes.
They are the equivalent of kids drawing on a notebook and saying, "Oh my God, let's create adventures with these characters."
Oh, that's so cool.
But that is very cool, and it definitely shows they are having fun. Because that's the important part. That is the element that so many TV shows miss nowadays, is that the people behind it are having fun. Mm-hmm. And that sense of fun is contagious.
Oh, yes. So true. That's so true. And moving on to the last thing on my list. When I watched this episode, Power Ponies, to me it felt like watching an episode of Ben 10. Beat to beat. Like everything that happened, it felt like Ben 10, and that's due to the credit of Charlotte Fullerton. She was a writer for Ben 10, and knowing that and comparing it to Power Ponies, I can see spots where this feels like Ben 10, and that's not a negative. To me, that's a positive.
I will never be able to agree with you because I have never watched an episode of Ben 10. But if you say that means it has to be true.
Yeah, I do watch the new Ben 10, and the whole, when you guys were complaining about they took too much time at the beginning to set the whole thing up, like Ben 10, they took too much time, and then when the action scene came up, and it's like Ben 10, like it's hard for me to explain what you guys were complaining about or what you guys had an issue with, because it's the writing style of Charlotte Fullerton. She writes for Ben 10. So, to me, when I saw it, it's like, okay, it's going to be the standard. Here's the setup. Here's the failure. Here's the trying to find out what's working and executing the plan. It's the same. And the thing I dislike, which is surprisingly one point, is Spike doubting himself, like thinking himself useless. I mean, haven't they established that Spike means a lot to them and he is not useless?
You don't have to forget the contribution of the other newcomer to the series. Mm-hmm. We have Betsy McGowen, and among the things that she had done, she was also the executive producer of Johnny Test.
Another action scene.
Yeah, so that can clearly explain the good grasp of action this episode had, because when you have a person who worked in Ben 10 like Charlotte Fullerton, who has also worked in MLP, writing episodes like Baby Cakes, Suited for Success, or Look Before You Sleep, and the always unquestionable talent of Meghan McCarthy, who knows this series from head to toe, and it clearly shows her dedication and passion towards it that she puts on it. When you combine those 3 talents into one single episode, that is going to give you something either that you're either going to love or that you're going to hate. Which so far I've seen a lot of love towards this episode, and the only hate I've seen, it has come from one specific part of the community that I'm not going to bring up in this review. I have my blog to do that, but I think it's a perfect combination of many different factors that thankfully they fell into place properly and correctly, and the combination is just, to me, is spotless, except for not using Twilight Sparkle better. They did a very good job with it.
Yeah, true. I mean, that's your issue. To me, it's, balanced out. But, everybody has their own opinion. And to me, the only issue I have was Spike. That's about it. Spike doubting himself. The Spike for the whole thing was okay. that was my opinion. And James, why don't we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's wrap this up. It's been going forever. By the way, guys, sorry, but we couldn't have Sketchy show up in the last section of the review because sometimes the UK post service just likes to screw people over, especially when it's Christmas time.
Yep.
Final thoughts, Norman?
I enjoyed the episode immensely. It brings me back to that sense of glee where action with animals or action scenes in cartoons can be good. And this was good and enjoyable. I would say go watch it if you're a fan of action scene and really interesting story. And I have to say this is one of my new favorite episodes for this season. Just because of Raging Fluttershy. Oh god, that was so good. And what about you, James?
In my opinion, anything that motivates me to go check what it's based on is definitely something great. Like, after watching this episode, I went to my comic book store and checked what comic books were available. I didn't buy any because it's difficult for me to jump into already established storylines, but I was looking at the comic book saying, man, I need to start reading some of these comics. Like, I want to get into Deadpool. I want to get into Iron Man again. I want to watch this. I want to read these comic books. And that goes to show the quality of this episode. It captured the comic book feel perfectly. It felt like a motion comic book, like a comic book came to life. And it's so good. It's so well done. The characters are great. The superpowers are great. The action sequences are great. The villain is great. The sidekick is great. The moral is great. The tone, the atmosphere, the rhythm, the everything. When my only complaint is that they could have used one of the characters more, that is like the pettiest of petty complaints. And it's the kind of episode that the more I think about it and the more I talk about it, the more I like it. So I said that this might not be my favorite episode of season 4, but it's really close to it. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think this is going to be one of my favorite episodes of the entire series by the time season 4 is over.
Mm-hmm. I have that vote too. It's on my... this episode will be my favorite. But anyway, James, what about next week? What will we get?
So, Norman, next week is going to be episode 7 of season 4, episode 72 overall. It's going to be Bats. Yes, that's the name of the episode, Bats, written by Meriwether Williams. Ooh, no, it's written by the one we shall not talk about. Actually, I'm kind of enjoying her writing. It's just the one episode that I cannot watch happens to be written by her. But, yeah, Meriwether Williams is coming back to the show, making this the third time that the last episode of the year has been written by Meriwether Williams. In 2011 was Heartwarming Eve, in 2012 was Spike at Your Service, and this year is going to be Bats. Kind of a coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. And you know what? I hope we get Fluttershy or maybe Bad Ponies in this episode, but you know, all wishes. Those are all wishes.
I am reading the synopsis. There are no Bad Ponies in this episode. I guarantee it. Yeah, sorry to crush your dreams, but you are not going to get any Bad Ponies in this episode.
You know what, James? Too bad for me.
Norman, go to the corner of shame and don't get out of there until you feel sorry for what you just did.
I already am. Anyway.
Go away. I will close this episode. You go. So, guys, thank you all for checking this episode out. There's the review. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed it. If you agreed or disagreed with us, please let us know in the comments. We like the comments, even if you never comment or anything. Just if you call us derpy heads or something like that, please do that because we thrive on feedback. We like to know that you people are watching. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And we guys will see you on the next review. Have a happy Christmas. Well, have a happy holidays. Have to be politically correct. Happy holidays.
And happy housewarming.